Sela and her friends are playing a game of tug-of-war. Neither side seems to be winning though. Sam has come and joined the opposing team. There, Sam's team has won. How do you think Sam helped his team win? Sam upset the balance of forces between the two teams and tipped it in favor of his team. What do we mean by balanced and unbalanced forces? Let's find out. As you know, a force is a push or a pull. Forces may occur in pairs and can be either balanced or unbalanced. Balanced forces do not cause a change in motion. They are equal in size and opposite in direction. In the tug-of-war, when there were equal numbers of participants on both sides, the forces applied on both sides were equal and opposite in direction. As a result, the forces were balanced, and the rope stayed pretty much in the same place. Try arm wrestling with a friend who is about as strong as you. What do you think the result will be? Well, at least in the beginning, you will both be pushing as hard as you can, but your arms won't budge. This is an example of balanced push forces. As the push forces exerted on both sides are equal, the resultant force is zero, and there is no change in motion. So, what causes a change in motion? Let's consider the tug-of-war again. When a person was added to a team in the tug-of-war, the balance of forces was disturbed. The rope moved towards the team with more people. Unbalanced forces cause a motion or a change in motion. In other words, if a force results in motion or a change in motion despite an opposing force, you have an unbalanced force. That's because the forces in this pair are not equal and opposite. Consider a scenario where your family car has broken down and you need to push it to the edge of the road or into a car park. The road is rough. Initially, when you start pushing, the car doesn't move at all. Why doesn't the car move? What force is acting on the car to balance the force you're applying? The car doesn't move initially because of the force acting between the surfaces of the wheels and the road. The force that acts between two surfaces in contact is called the frictional force. Thus, frictional force balances out the force you apply to the car. When your friend joins you and both of you push harder, the car starts to move. This happens because the pushing force is bigger than the frictional force. Therefore, the forces are not balanced anymore. To summarize, if the net or total force acting on an object is non-zero or more than zero, the forces are unbalanced. How would you calculate the net force where forces are unbalanced? When unbalanced forces act in opposite directions, their combined force or net force is equal to the difference between them. For example, suppose Sam applied a force of F2 units to the rope. Therefore, the total force exerted by his team would increase to F1 plus F2 units. Net force on the rope would become F1 plus F2 minus F1 units. Thus, if two forces are acting in opposite directions, net force is calculated by subtraction. The net force will act in the direction of the larger force. Forces acting in the same direction combine by addition. Consider the example in which you and your friend pushed the car into the car park. Suppose you and your friend were each applying a force of 1.5 units in pushing the car, and the frictional force between the wheels and the surface of the road was 2 units. Then, net force equals larger force minus smaller force. Net force equals 1.5 plus 1.5 units minus 2 units. Net force equals 1 unit. The value of the net force is greater than 0. Hence, the forces are unbalanced. How do balanced and unbalanced forces impact a body? When the forces applied on a body balance each other, either the body will rest, or, if it is already moving, it will move with uniform velocity. How does a helicopter remain hovering in the air? The force of gravity pulls it down, but the downward push of the rotating blades on the air balances the weight of the helicopter, keeping it steady in one place. When forces are unbalanced, the extra force causes the object to move if it was at rest. If the object is already moving, the extra force causes the object to speed up or accelerate, or slow down, and or change its direction.